We spend probably 99% of our time here at VFC talking about trout, but they're just one of the dozens of fish you can catch on a fly rod.
We've had the itch lately to go out and explore and try something new. So we decided to put ourselves out of our comfort zone and see what we'd learn.
We spent a week in Florida chasing largemouth bass, snook, tarpon, gar, and jacks, all on the fly. And honestly, it was some of the most fun I've ever had.
We had to deal with tides in the ocean, 9 or 10 weight rods, and we even had to dodge some gators. But there were a couple big things that stood out to us.
And those big things are the lessons that apply no matter where or what you're fishing for. So today on Untangled, we're going to share some of our stories from the trip, but most importantly, we're going to focus on those lessons we learned that'll make everybody a better angler. This is Untangled, fly fishing for everyone, presented by Ventures Fly Co. Hey everybody, welcome to it. This is Untangled, and I am your host, Spencer Durant, alongside the 2026 VFC Bassmaster Champion, Alex Stolz.
I really appreciate you using my title.
You know, I got my butt chewed pretty well for not using it last night, so I sure as heck wasn't going to forget. And y'all are going to learn how Alex became the Bassmaster Champion later on in the show, so don't go away. But we're just going to share a story about a trip we went on, 2-3 weeks ago now?
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be longer than that by the time this episode drops. It was in middle of March that we went to Florida. Coincidentally, we planned it over spring break, not realizing that it was spring break. So that was really fun, and we'll get to that in a minute, too.
Spencer was just there for the party.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm a big partier.
Yeah, he didn't know it was spring break.
But we wanted to go down to Florida not because we were like jonesing for a trip or anything. Because honestly, as much as we enjoy getting to travel and getting to go around and fish all these cool places, there gets to a point where I just want to fish in the backyard. And I've really been feeling that lately. But we went to Florida because we wanted to try some new stuff. We talk about trout all the time. Almost all of our content is around how are we catching trout? How do we become better at catching trout? And, you know, that dominates the fly fishing market for a lot of reasons, but there's a lot of other fish to catch on a fly rod, and we wanted to have some experiences with that.
And we get a lot of people in YouTube video comments, or they email us, or in our school group.
And they're always from Kansas.
And they ask, hey, I love that you're talking about trout all the time. The same principles apply mostly, but we would love if you did some bass content. And one of the principles we have here at VFC when we make videos, when we teach about things, is we're not going to teach about something that we haven't done ourselves, right? We're not just going to chat GPT something up and get on camera and talk about it.
Write me a script for a bass fly fishing masterclass. No, we're not going to do that, right?
Yeah.
Because so when Alex says, I got stuck in a tree, he really did get stuck in a tree. Okay. We've done it all. So we wanted to go out. We wanted to push ourselves and try something we've never done before.
Primarily bass fishing.
And that was the focus of the trip. So we decided, let's go somewhere that's got really big bass, give us an opportunity to catch some big ones, and then also a place that can be kind of tough so we can really learn the ropes of bass fishing. And was this your first time doing bass on the fly?
Yeah, I've done conventional gear for bass in Florida, actually, but this was the first time on the fly.
And it was not the first time on the fly for me, because I did a little bit of bass on the fly in college, but not for very long. Not enough that I can sit here and be like, well, what you want to do is you want to put your fly here and you want to twitch it like this, and that's how you're going to. I don't have advice for you other than I got lucky a couple of times. So that's why we went down.
And luckily, Spencer, I mean, this is going to shock a lot of listeners.
Oh, no. What?
He has friends.
Yeah, I know. Other than Alex.
Other than me.
Yeah.
And we're pretty much acquaintances at this point. So
I'm well aware.
Yeah, I don't know if we've quite gotten to the friend level, but Spencer, he does a little bit of writing for fly fishing magazines and online for a couple of places. And He has a friend. His name is Max.
Yep.
And he invited us down to do some bass fishing. Max is a fantastic angler, chases
Very
a
good.
lot of different fish on the fly and conventional too, has a lot of experience. So he invited us down to Florida. He has a boat.
And we're going to buy a boat.
Yeah,
just
we're
like it
we're
now.
really jealous now.
We're
Max's
jonesing on
boat
that
was
boat.
really cool.
It's awesome. But yeah, Max was he was going to give us the crash course in bass. This is their behavior. This is what to look for. And this is as much as we know, like, why are they doing this? Why are they acting this way?
You're doing this wrong.
Yeah, exactly. All that stuff that you don't know unless you have somebody who knows what they're doing and point it out for you. And that was the gist of the trip. But let's tell the whole story, okay? Because before we get into the fishing, and we're going to weave in the lessons of this trip as well as we get into this. But let's talk about the little disaster we had.
I'm pulling this up right now.
Getting there.
You don't know this, but when we were sitting there after our fun travel experience, I actually jotted down a moment by moment list of what happened so that we didn't forget anything.
All right. Well, take it away, because everybody who thinks this traveling to fly fish thing is glamorous, it can be fun. I'm not knocking that, but it don't always go according to plan.
So this started a couple weeks before we headed out, but TSA, they weren't getting paid.
Yeah.
So they went on strike.
And they're still not getting paid as of this recording right now.
That's insane.
It's pay TSA. Come on.
So we wanted to get to the airport a little bit early. Spencer actually flew here to Utah a little bit the day before, and we were going to catch the same flight to Florida just so that it made logistics easier.
Yeah. It was going to be easy and simple, huh?
So I'm about 20 minutes down the road about to go pick up Spencer, and we were like, oh, we'll get there like an hour earlier than we normally would. So I think we said like 3 hours early.
Yeah, we were going to show up at the airport 3 hours early.
Because we had heard some horror stories that the lines to get through TSA were really
impossible.
Long.
Yeah.
About halfway to where Spencer was staying, I realized I had forgot my wallet. So I turned around, drove back. That tacked on an extra 25, 30 minutes right there. But I picked up Spencer. We parked a truck. We got out and we're walking over to the shuttle to go to the airport. What happened?
We get the notification that our flight was delayed.
Yeah. So we were supposed to leave at 2 and the flight got delayed till 3:40. So now,
okay, we can survive.
Now we're at the airport 5 hours early.
Yeah, 5 hours early.
So we pull up to we go to the TSA line.
And it was piece of cake.
There was no line.
Yeah. They didn't give us grief. It was wonderful.
Sail right through. And then we went over to the little Italian joint.
Yeah. I had myself a salad because
little
watching
Caesar
my
salad.
figure. Yeah.
I got a Coke Zero, Diet Coke.
Yep.
Little fresh lime. Treated ourselves. And we worked for a while. And then we got a crazy text that the flight was now on time again.
So we were like, crap, we're going to be late. So we hustle over to the gate and we get to the gate and...
False alarm.
Yeah, it was delayed.
It was still delayed. Yeah. So then we're sitting there and it gets delayed another hour.
Yep.
So at this point, it was like 5, 6.
I think we left Salt Lake around 4:45, 5 o'clock, I think.
And we were supposed to leave at 2.
No, we were supposed to leave at like 1:40.
1:40,
I think.
yeah.
Something like that.
It's crazy. Yeah. Finally, we get on the plane. We're excited. We're finally on our way to Florida. And then about an hour and a half left on the flight.
Yeah, I was watching the little flight tracker on the screen on the back of my seat, and we just entered Florida airspace. And then Mr. Pilot Bro heads us north to go to Atlanta instead of south towards Fort Lauderdale, which is where we're flying into.
So that was the first sign something was awry.
And he just starts like making this big U-turn, like he's taking us back west. I like, oh no.
Yeah. So it's like,
what's going on?
It was like we were headed to Atlanta and then it started to horseshoe back the other way. And then all of a sudden the map tracker changed from Fort Lauderdale to Fort Myers, which is on the other side of Florida.
The complete other coast. It's the Gulf of Mexico versus the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
So,
and you should have seen everyone's faces on the plane.
Everybody just Oh my gosh.
They were so confused.
They were so mad. And then the pilot finally chimes in. He's like, yeah, well, there's a little bit of rain, I guess, in Fort Lauderdale, and we can't land because it's too stormy, and we don't have enough fuel to just sit up here in circles and wait it out. So we're going to land at Fort Myers and wait out the weather, refuel, and then we will fly you to Fort Lauderdale. And I'm sitting here with my vast experience of spending time in Alaska. Like, I've landed in some sketchy crap in Alaska. It's like, just land the plane. It's a freaking rainstorm, dude. Come on, just land the plane. Like, I've landed in fog where we couldn't see the runway till we were on it. Okay. Now, granted, that was in a smaller plane, but still, just land the freaking plane.
We should have had you go up there and give a pep talk in honor of
dude,
all of us passengers.
Was this his first thunderstorm? Because that's what it felt like.
Yeah, so we end up landing in Fort Myers, which is crazy. And at this point, it's 11 o'clock at night, Florida time.
Yeah. So we're tired.
We're
tired. Supposed to meet Max at 5 a.m. to get up to the Bass Lake in time for the morning bite. But we were 2.5 hours away from our Airbnb on the other coast of Florida.
So we end up, they get on the speaker again and they're like, okay, you can get off the plane if you want. You can eat. Then you can get back on the plane. We don't really know how long this is going to take. Could be like, we're going to wait out the weather.
Yep.
We're going to refuel. You could also get off the plane if you wanted to and just get out of the airport. And if your destination is close to here, you can do that. So
I Google Maps it. It was like 2 hours, 15-minute drive. I looked at Alex and said, bro, rental car, let's do this. So then we had the pleasure of the rental car line, which if there's any entrepreneurs out there in our audience, please fix the rental car experience, because there's no reason that it should take what it does. It's awful.
Yeah, we filled out everything online.
And then we had to fill it out again after we waited in line for half an hour.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
The lady in front of us was so mad.
Yeah, she was big mad.
It was pretty funny.
But remember how I mentioned earlier, it's spring break? Well, we originally thought, well, let's just get a rental car, get a hotel, sleep, and then get up and drive early, because I don't do very well driving early. Alex does. So it was like we could sleep. Alex didn't want to drive at night. We were both bushed. It's like, yeah, let's do that. Literally every hotel I call is booked full. Nobody has a room. So we're like, screw it. We'll just drive the 2 hours, get to the Airbnb, call it a night. Yeah. So we got to experience the entire swath of Florida between Fort Myers and Fort Lauderdale at 1 a.m, which was a beautiful experience. Had some late night Wendy's.
And it was kind of crazy because there was no clouds in the sky and it didn't rain once on our drive over.
It didn't. So I don't know what that pilot was talking about. Almost like maybe they didn't put enough fuel on the plane to begin with and he was coming up with something. I think that's really what it was.
Crazy. So and we make the trek to our Airbnb.
We get there and I've got this little thing with Airbnb where it seems sketchy to me to stay in someone else's house because I don't know if they wash themselves. I don't know if there's a crack pipe hidden in their house somewhere. I would rather stay in a hotel, more comfortable in a hotel. Alex, completely opposite. He would rather get the Airbnb, mostly because he wants the room to shut the door on me so he doesn't have to look at me for at least 8 hours while he sleeps. No, you put earplugs in. You can't even do that.
I forgot him this trip. So anyways, we get to the Airbnb. I've had great experiences with Airbnb. My only bad experiences have actually been with Spencer, which is
every
really
time
funny.
It's been a sketchy Airbnb. We went into one where there was still hair on the soap in the shower once.
Yeah. Not great.
Not ideal. So anyways,
we get there. It's kind of a pain to check in, which it should just be a keyless check-in where you type in the code on the door and you're in. But we had to like check in. Well, at this point, I will say it's 3 o'clock in the morning. It's almost 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
We show up. I mean, we're us. We don't look that,
trustworthy.
Yeah, we look a little, I don't know if we're that trustworthy. So we're like knocking on the door, the glass door to this it's like a big complex, like condo type resort
it was a weird
area
condo thing.
So we knock on the door, the security guard, I have to walk through the whole check-in process. Finally, we get up to the room, type in the code, type in the code, type in the code. It's like really angry at this point. So the code doesn't work. So I messaged the host It says that they are on our same time zone. Again, it's 3:30 in the morning.
And we expected him to respond immediately because,
of course.
that's what you should.
Customer service, man.
Come on.
So we don't get a response for 30, 45 minutes. So and at this point, we're exhausted.
Yeah, I'm like, let's just sleep in the car. Max is passed out. And I'd also told Max, I was like, bro, when we get somewhere and sleep, I will let you know. Just plan it. We'll get up and figure out when we're going to fish the next day. So we go. And it was spring break on this coast of Florida too. Every hotel is full. We finally find one where the lady took pity on us, and there was an empty room that she would give to us at full rate, of course, to sleep in from 4 a.m. until 11 a.m. Yeah. Okay, whoop-de frickin' do. So we get in there, but there's only one king size bed. And we were not going to have a planes, trains, and automobiles incident. I guess I'd be John Candy in that situation, which I'm not going to complain about too much. I like John Candy. But anyways, I sleep on the couch. Alex takes the bed, and we finally fall asleep, pass out, wake up. We got to go drop the rental car off. We get finally to meet up with Max, and we hop in for the 1.5-hour ride to the lake.
The lake
to start bass
so we
fishing.
are.
Oh, hold on. We forgot the most important part.
Yeah.
Before we started the drive up to the lake, we got to experience a Wawa gas station. And all I have to say is, everybody else, step up your game.
It was great.
That was the food, the experience, the ordering process. Fantastic.
Yeah, had a really good breakfast burrito.
Yeah.
It almost made up for the travel experience.
Almost. Almost made up for it.
So let's get into the fishing. So we drive the 1.5-hour, 2 hours to a lake north of Max's house. And what's really cool about this lake, world famous for bass fishing.
Yep, big bass.
They actually made this lake for trophy bass.
Yep,
they drained the entire swamp. They had excavators out there. They put in structure. They filled it back up. And Max is telling us the first 4 or 5 years this lake was open, they were pulling out giant bass every single day.
Yeah.
So we were excited.
So we get out and we start fishing, and Max had fished it a couple of days before with some conventional gear, and they'd been catching a lot on speed worms, which is what it sounds like. It's just a giant long worm that you retrieve really quickly. So he tied up some flies that looked exactly like speed worms, and I started out with that, and Alex started out with some little bait fish pattern, I think.
I think it was a Clouser minnow.
Or did you start out with
I started with Clouser. Yep.
And we start fishing.
But well, let's stop here because this is one of the takeaways I had.
Okay.
Because
what you got?
We get out on the lake and the wind is whipping.
It was whipping that first day.
Whipping. I've done some bone fishing in Hawaii, and that was the only time that it was windier than what we were fishing in that day.
It was windier in Wyoming.
Yeah, it was windy. There were some big gusts that would roll in. And then
you don't have a whole lot of experience throwing big flies in the wind, right?
Fun fact, this is the first time I've ever cast a 9-weight rod.
Okay. Yeah.
So I've used 7 weights. I've used 8 weights. I've never used a 9-weight rod. So not only am I casting these bigger flies, which again, I'm not a streamer guy. If you've been listening to the podcast, if you watch our videos, you know that I'm the nymph guy.
Yep.
So I've been getting a little bit more into streamers over the last 6 months, which actually has paid off a ton on this trip.
Yeah. You weren't completely new to it, but it's not.
Yes,
Yes. Yeah.
So 9-weight rod, big streamer, heavier line, and the wind is just like
in our face, of course, because that's how we've got to do it off of a boat.
So if you really want to learn how to cast in the wind for 3 days straight.
And if you want to learn how to cast, period, just do it. Because that was also my big takeaway, where I think the big thing that I had to remember, and I make this mistake whenever I get with my bigger rods and I'm in the wind, is I try to speed the cast up.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you need to overpower the wind. And especially you bump up to 7, 8, 9, 10-weight rods. They're doing all the work for you. Even if the wind is howling, you just need to slow that rod down, open those loops up, let the line unfurl, let the rod do its job. The wind is going to mess with your accuracy, But by and large, once we slowed down, we opened our loops up, we didn't have a problem getting the distance we needed, did we?
No, we didn't.
It was all about opening the loops up, letting the rods just load and unload, letting them do the work. And that's a good reminder for our trout fishing too. So whether it's bass or not, right? Whatever rig you've got on, let the rod do the work. They're designed for it. Now, a 5-weight's going to struggle in the wind a lot more than a 9-weight will. But still, at the end of the day, we fish in the wind with our 5-weights all the time. And I think it's because we've done that enough. It's kind of second nature to slow it down a little bit. But when you put that big streamer on, the heavy line, the big rod, you're like, oh, I got to go. I got to move it. You don't have to.
The wind just does something mentally to you
does.
as well. So in golf, there's a saying, when it's breezy, swing easy.
Yeah.
Because the harder you swing, the more spin you can put on the golf ball. And when it's windy, that spin gets exponentially worse. And so your ball will just like zip off to the left or right. Same thing in casting. It's just like when you're casting, swing easy. I don't know what the saying is.
When you're casting, cast easy.
Yeah, cast easy. I don't know. But it's the same thing. Just slow it down, let that rod load and let it unload.
Yep. And once we did that,
Yeah.
it was night and day difference.
And then the other thing was the double haul.
Yes.
I've done the double haul a little bit, but I definitely didn't. It's not muscle memory. Like I still have to think about it.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are unfamiliar with a double haul, just look it up on YouTube. That's the easiest way to see it is just type in like how to double haul fly rod. Essentially you're just increasing the line speed while you're casting by pulling the line as you're making the casting stroke. And you actually do it twice. It's like you pull on your back cast and then you pull again on your forward cast. And that just speeds up the line and it cuts through the wind easier.
And we know with fly casting mechanics, if you've got a line that's moving quickly, that's moving in a relatively tight loop, that's going to be more accurate. So especially in the wind, even though we said, slow down, open those loops up. Yes, you're doing that. But then you add that haul, that little bit of line speed that just kind of stabilizes everything in the wind and then does help with the distance as well.
And it was interesting to do it myself.
Yeah.
And then watch Max do it, who's been doing this forever in the wind. He tarpon fishes, he bass fishes,
bone fishes,
like a lot of saltwater stuff. And it just looks so graceful.
Right.
Like so relaxed when he's doing it.
Yep.
And then I'm sitting there and I feel like I look so tense. It just
and as soon as we relaxed, it made a big difference.
It did.
But I saw my first gator in the wild on this lake too. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
And did you catch one right off the bat? I forget. On that first day, I legitimately can't remember. I know you caught a couple on that first day.
It wasn't right off the bat. It was probably an hour to 2 hours in.
Okay.
But I caught one when we were out in the more open section before we moved into the,
And that was the other big thing too from all the bass days was we spent the whole time, we get out of this lake and it just looks like a giant marsh. And I'm looking for drop offs. I'm looking for points, but the water's like 2 or 3 feet deep. The weeds are really tall, so there's obviously breaks in the weeds, but you can't really see those till you're right on top of them.
Yeah.
So everywhere that we fished ended up being around structure and around sunken trees, big root balls, lily pads, and then Max has a fish finder on the boat, so we could see like, oh, we're going and it drops really deep right here. So then we could see, all right, we're going to fish on that drop, on that transition point from deep to shallow. We know fish love to hang out on that, and bass love to hang out on that too. They're very structure oriented, probably more so than trout, I would say. But that also reinforced for me that I don't think I pay as much attention to fishing structure heavily when we're trout fishing as I probably should.
Agree.
Because a week after we got home from this trip, I went out on the local creek behind the house and I got my cast tucked as close to the rocks on the opposite bank as I could. And there's a bunch of bushes and then all those boulders that kind of make a lot of cover area. I caught 2 like that. Didn't catch them anywhere else. They were all tucked up tight against the structure under the cover.
Already paying off.
Just like the bass were.
The craziest thing when we were out in that big open area right at the beginning.
Yeah.
There was like one little stick that was poking up. If you're on the video podcast, I have my pen here. It was like one tiny little stick just poking up out of the water.
Yep.
And I didn't even really see it. And Max was like, oh yeah, we're going to head over to the stick. That's like a big thing of structure over there. And I was like,
and Alex,
a
like,
little
what's this guy talking about?
And I'm pretty sure that's where I caught the first bass.
Yeah. And it was the only one sticking out of this massive, like, mess of sunken trees and whatnot.
Yeah. As soon as we got closer to it, you could look down in the water and it was a big mess of
and they were
branches.
hanging out in it.
Yeah.
So
don't overlook just the single little stick coming out of the water.
And then I ended up getting skunked that first day. I had 2 hits and I just missed them both.
It was honestly a pretty slow day.
The fishing was not super quick.
A cold front came in 2 days right before we got there. So Max had fished on Sunday.
And we got there Tuesday. It had
been really warm all before that, and they killed it on Sunday. And then the cold front came in on Monday, and we got there on Tuesday.
We flew out Monday. Yeah. Flew/drove on Monday. So
and he was telling us that bass, they're pretty temperamental when it comes to water temps and like air temps.
Yeah. So. And if things shut down, they're just going to be a little bit tougher. And they were significantly tougher. I think you caught 2?
Caught 2 that day. Yeah. But they were pretty small ones, probably under 1.5 pounds.
Yeah. Pretty relatively small. Speaking. I mean, that's a decent bass for a lot of places, but for this lake, relatively
we were
small.
in search of a biggin.
And then we had to decide what we were going to do the next day because we looked at the forecast and the wind was supposed to be even worse.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be even colder up there on that bass lake. So we thought, well, is it even going to be worth fishing? Because this weather had changed on us like 2 or 3 days before the trip. The weather had turned. So we're like, we're still going to go, right? But then Max brought up the idea of, well, let's go fish the Everglades.
And what's so funny is I was against this.
You were.
I really was.
It was so funny.
I was like, we're here to fish for bass. Like, this feels like a distraction. We're here to learn about bass. We're here to get ready to potentially teach a bass masterclass at some point in the future. Like, why are we going to the Everglades?
Well, there's largemouth bass in the Everglades.
Which it wasn't emphasized enough.
No. There's also peacock bass in the Everglades.
Yes.
And then there's all those exotics, the Mayan cichlids, the jaguars.
But man, am I happy that we did this because it was so much stinking fun and it was awesome.
And that was the whole second day. We got up relatively early, drove out to the Everglades, put the skiff in, go up through the canals in there, and gators everywhere. Little baby ones, huge ones. And I think like 3rd or 4th cast, we hooked into fish. And it was just stupid, fast fishing all day. But it was the same stuff as the day before where fish to structure. And the fish were on the structure. And then the nice thing about this really was the reinforcing of strip sets, of casting the big flies. It got a little windy, so we did have some wind to cast in. There was a lot that we walked into with this where even though it wasn't all bass that we were catching, it was the same techniques, the same ideas, the same
principles.
Thank you. I'm blanking on the word. The same principles that you're going to use for bass fishing, you use out here.
Yeah.
And that was really fun. I caught 2 gar that I didn't get to the boat. And then Alex did put 1 gar in the boat, which was really cool.
So we caught Oscar fish.
Yes.
Which were cool. They were like these black fish with these red dots on them. They looked awesome. They had these nasty spines and their eyes were all black.
And the fangs. Don't forget the fangs.
The fangs. I think, wasn't that the jaguar?
I thought they all had them.
Maybe they did.
I can't remember.
Yeah. So then we caught some Mayan cichlids, which were like these bright red fish. They were really cool. We caught a gar, which they just look funny.
They do, with this stupid little nose on them.
Really skinny with like a big old nose, Pinocchio nose.
Yep.
What else we catch?
We caught the jaguar fish. I think it's called
rainbow bass.
Rainbow bass down in South America.
Nickname was like a jaguar. Had this really cool pattern on it, and it was like a purple blue like tint shine to it.
And a lot of spots, just like a lot of spots.
Yeah, it was really cool.
We didn't catch any peacock bass. The water was just a little too cold for the peacocks. But then surprisingly, we got into a bunch of largemouth.
Yeah,
and the same stuff that we were learning the day before on the lake. Throw to structure, vary your retrieve, vary your depth, figure out what they want, and then repeat that. And once we did, we started putting some pretty decent bass in the boat. And I think that was your big bass of the trip, wasn't it?
Yeah, I caught a 3-pounder.
And then I caught one that was like 2.2, 2.3 right after that.
Yeah.
So we both got a couple of nice largemouth out of the Everglades. And then Max had another idea for that night, which was a lot of fun.
And I'm kind of a grandpa when it comes to bedtimes. So I was also a little bit against this, which I just need to be more open.
Yeah.
Cause he's like, yeah, we'll start at 8:00 and we'll go till 11 or 12. Yep. And I was like, oh my gosh, we already haven't slept from our travel ordeal, but I got talked into it. Thank goodness. Because so Spencer and I, we went and ate some dinner. Max tied up some flies.
Yeah.
Like a freaking champion.
Flies up, and then comes back and gets us. And then we launch like 2 minutes from the Airbnb out into the ocean. And we go around at night. We go around to the docks that have lights on them. And we're just night fishing.
Yeah, there's all these like multi-million-dollar mansions on the coast right there. And so they have these fancy docks and they have lights down in the water. And so we pull up in the boat, and we forgot to mention this. Max has the sickest trolling motor.
Oh yeah, it's the best trolling motor I've ever seen.
He has a little necklace that has the remote on it. And you can hit a button and you stay in place.
Yeah,
so no matter
lock.
like the spot lock. So,
but it works better. There's Minn Kota does that. It's really common on trolling motors.
Okay.
But Max's works better than anybody else's I've ever seen because it's not jerking you around all the time. It really does just keep you there.
It was amazing. One of the coolest things ever.
Yeah. And we were going after snook, which is highly predatory fish in the ocean. And I was up first and I missed my 2 bites.
Kind of explain the situation though. So you have these lights in the water, but what are we seeing?
You would see the snook and then there were some jacks mixed in with them and they would just chase the bait over the lights.
Yeah, there's all these little bait fish and they get attracted to the lights. So they're just like sitting there in a pod, attracted to the lights, just like Spencer when a Diet Coke comes into the room. He's just
exactly.
And you just see these big shadows start just shooting across the light, attacking these bait fish. And those are snook and jacks.
And so we did that and I missed my 2. And then it was Alex's turn and we went to a different light for yours.
Yeah. And so I haven't cast a 9 or a 10 foot rod or 10 weight rod before.
And it was blowing. I mean, we were rocking back and forth.
It was raining, had our rain gear on, our Squala rain jackets.
Shout out to the Squala RS and carbon jackets, which was bone dry.
Again, this is the first time I've had a really nice rain jacket.
Yeah.
It's a game changer.
It is. It makes us, because we weren't wet or cold.
Not at all.
It was insane.
Not at all. Yeah. So it's just it's dumping rain. It's windy, but you can see these big shadows just shooting across the lights. It was really cool. And so I have like I think it was a 9 weight rod.
You were fishing the 9.
And this was the first time, cast it out there, you put it under your arm and then you're double hand stripping.
Yeah, to get it moving really quick. To get it
moving really fast. So I do that a few times. I got hooked on the dock a couple of times.
We got you off the dock.
Yeah, we got it off. But this is such a classic. Max is like, all right, let's move on to another light. And I said, nah, one more cast.
And that was...
Threw it out there, double hand strip, boom. Hook set or a strip set, the hook. And I hooked into like a 20-inch snook.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad for your first one.
But it was fun.
And then the weather just got too bad. We ended up leaving. So I didn't catch a snook either. I caught fish in the Everglades though, just in case you're wondering. I didn't get skunked the whole time. But then we wanted to get up and we wanted to bass fish the next morning. Because again, that's what we came down for. The weather was looking better. It was going to be warmer. But the wind was either going to be really bad or not too bad. And so we're like, well, let's go try it. So we get up, we go to the bass pond the next morning. And it was ripping. It was
windier than the first day.
It was just screaming. But we got out there. We made this little challenge. This is where the Bassmaster stuff comes in. Made this little friendly wager between myself and Alex. I said, whoever catches the most poundage of bass, not the most, because Max got this little scale, so we could weigh the bass.
Yeah, and Max was telling us this is what they do at a lot of the bass tournaments. Is you get 4 fish
based on weight,
and then whoever gets the most amount of weight wins.
Yep, and that's what we were going to do. So we start off, Alex is fishing the clouser again.
The clouser did me right on this trip.
I was back to the speed worm because I wanted to catch a big one. I knew I wasn't going to catch smaller fish with it because it's so big. So I wanted to try and catch a big one.
It's like this long.
It was enormous.
It was all, 9 inches long?
Yeah, it was
just
huge.
This big piece of chenille.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coming off the hook.
Yeah. And the wind is just beating us up. This is day 3 that we've been fishing. We're both tired. And Max was cold because it was Florida cold.
Yeah, but I didn't let that stop me.
No. Alex, how many bass did you catch?
So I hooked into one pretty quick.
Yep.
Right off the old faithful stick that was sticking out of the water. So I caught one. That one was 2 pounds.
Yep.
It was like a pretty decent fish. I said, sweet, we're off to a hot start. Then it slowed down a little bit.
Kept
Spencer was
windier.
having some troubles. We tried a couple different spots, but they just weren't panning out. We tried some. This was interesting. Max was like, okay, we'll try the sticks. Sticks didn't work out. We'll go over to this grassy area.
Yep.
Grassy area didn't work out. Okay, we'll go over to this drop off. So we were trying different types of structures, not just structure, but different types. He says sometimes the bass can get keyed in on a particular type of structure.
Yep, they'll want to be in on it. We tried it all, and there was no predictability to it. Yeah. There was no pattern.
Lily pads.
They were just not moving around a lot. They just weren't. They weren't eating.
Yeah, really. So we grinded for 3-4 hours.
It was probably about 4 hours.
And I ended up putting 4 fish in the boat.
Yep.
But my other 3 bass
were all like half pounders.
I think they all ended up being under 1 pound total. Yeah. So I think I ended up catching about 3 pounds worth of bass.
Which was still 3 more than me because I got skunked yet again. I didn't even get a nibble this time though, which was what really kind of sealed the deal for us that, hey, we keep grinding and really abusing ourselves.
Please tell everyone what was the grand prize?
Whoever won got to be labeled the VFC 2026 Bassmaster champion. So that is Alex.
He is, for the record, he is now trying to steal my title. Let the record show.
For good reason.
We'll get to that
for good
after
reason.
This. Spencer's been doing some work since we got home from this trip. But
to wrap things up, we decided to leave the bass pond because we felt like at this point, everything we learned in the Everglades was similar to what we were doing. The 2 days on the bass pond, even though I missed my 2 chances that I had at a decent fish because I fished that big speed worm the whole time. I was chasing a big one. Alex got more bites because you were fishing a smaller fly. That's what's going to happen. When you've got a smaller bait on there, you're going to catch smaller fish. Not there's anything wrong with that. That was the approaches that we wanted to go with.
And that's a principle I actually learned when trout fishing with a guide up in Wyoming. He was telling me, he asked if I wanted to catch small fish or big fish. And I said, big fish. And he said, well, we should chuck a streamer today. Because if we tie on a nymph, all the little small fish are going to eat that nymph before a big fish does.
Yep.
So if you want the big fish, chuck the streamer because it kind of filters out the small fish. Same principle.
Exactly. So we decided to end it with a little bit of saltwater fishing again. Just, we're here, we're in Florida, let's do it. So we go out into this
saltwater river.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
And we were thinking we'd find some snook.
Yeah, there's a section where there's docks, a whole bunch of docks that Max was going to take us to. But again, it was super windy and it was cloudy. He said that the snook like to hang out in between these docks in the sun.
Yep.
But he was like, I don't know if it's really going to work out today. Let's go try this other area
that
down
was
the
a little
main
sheltered
branch.
From the wind.
A little sheltered from the wind. And there was a lot of mangroves along the sides of it.
And we get in there and we see mullet jumping everywhere, little bait fish. Then we start to see tarpon rolling on these mullet.
Wow.
And then some dolphins showed up and some manatees.
Some
and
bull sharks.
And the tarpon are rolling and there's jacks chasing them too. So Max is like, okay, I guess we're tarpon fishing today. But it's not usual tarpon fishing where you're sight casting to them. And
yeah, the water was kind of like a murky brown
very
color.
Murky.
It was interesting.
So instead, we started off with streamers right off the bat, fished deep on sink tips, because on the fish finder, we could see the tarpon were down deeper.
And there was hundreds of them.
Yeah.
Hundreds of tarpon, like 40 to 80 pound tarpon, not really big ones, but like, I mean, compared to a trout, it was pretty big.
And you could see them rolling on the surface. And we didn't catch anything on the streamers except I got a saltwater catfish, fish deep, which
that was cool.
Bizarre. I didn't even know that was a thing until I caught it.
And then I caught a jack, which was the first time I've ever caught a jack.
And I put that 9.5 for you. I've got a video of Alex's first jack. The dude's like, it was a rodeo for you.
It was sweet.
It was cool.
Fought like a mother. Yeah.
And then we ended up switching to topwater baits for big topwater flies for the tarpon.
And tell them the tragedy.
And we'd been throwing these for about an hour. And this, I'll tell the lesson right after this, but we were throwing them for about an hour. The fish are rolling all over. We can see tarpon everywhere.
Everywhere.
But we were having they weren't committing. And I'd caught a couple of jacks topwater already. I caught a couple of pretty decent ones, actually, which were my first jacks, too. So much fun. Those fish pull.
And they smack that little topwater fly. It's almost, if you've ever seen a popper, that's kind of like what we were fishing.
Similar.
Where it's just like you're scooting it along the top of the water. It's making this big wake behind it.
And I'd caught a couple of jacks. And then I see a tarpon roll kind of by my fly. And then I see a streak towards the fly. And I'm getting really excited. And the tarpon
strip,
eats it.
Comes up again.
And it didn't smack it hard enough for me to feel like I needed to set. So I did what I do with trout fishing, which is, they hit it, I let it die. Apparently you don't do that with tarpon. So Max is yelling at me, no, keep stripping. So I'm like, okay. So I started stripping and I sped it up because I'm thinking, I need to. He's like, nope, don't speed it up. Same speed. Tarpon comes at it again. And I missed it.
Well, you let go of the line.
No, not yet.
Not yet?
Okay. So the tarpon comes and hits it again. And I go to strip set and I moved my body too much because I was so tense. I was like, I got to do it. And I moved my body too much and I pulled the fly out of the tarpon's mouth. Tarpon comes for it again. And this time Max is like, no, keep the rod pointed at the fish. Just strip and keep stripping until you feel the fish on there. I'm like, okay. So it hits it again. And I go to just do a strip set from it just as hard as I can. And the line literally slips out of my hands because it was all covered in water. So it was like 5 eats in one, and I missed every single one of it. It was just a master class in everything you can do wrong.
Hey, but it was so fun to watch.
It was so cool.
It was so cool to watch.
But that was the other big thing I took out of this trip was the mental sharpness and the focus you got to keep sometimes, especially on the Bass Lake where we were just grinding and we were hoping for something and nothing happened the whole time. And then the two that I missed on that first day, I think the first one surprised me because I hadn't had anything all day.
Yeah, it'd been like 3 or 4 hours.
And then the second one, it felt like a pretty good hook set to me. I just missed it. I'm not sure why. But that tarpon really drove it home of you've got to kind of stay on your game. You've got to really to stay mentally sharp with these fish. And I think that's, again, it doesn't matter if you're going after tarpon or trout. You've got to stay ready to react the right way. And then obviously easier said than done. Excuse me. Don't get so excited.
And I'm pretty sure the fish know when you lose focus.
Oh, they do. Because that's when they eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So, but I did end up catching way more jacks than you on that last day. So I am the jack champion.
Okay.
Can I claim that title?
2026. I mean, technically you're the saltwater champion right now.
Sure. Because I got more out of the salt than you did.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah. Because I caught the champion. One snook.
Yeah.
And a jack.
Yep.
I think you caught 3 jacks? 4?
4.
Yeah. For some reason, they liked Spencer's fly way more than mine. It was so interesting.
But above all, I think the really big thing we took away from this was it was different. It was unique. It was something we'd never done before, but it didn't feel foreign because all we were doing was putting flies in front of fish and trying to make them look real. The mantra we talk about here all the time. As difficult and different and unique as the casting was, and the gators and the bull sharks and the manatees and the dolphins, that stuff's amazing, but it still felt familiar in the sense that I'm just throwing a streamer.
And I will say, when we first got on the water that first day, there was a point I looked over at Spencer and I said, I know nothing about fly fishing.
because I was peppering Max with questions about like bass behavior and Alex having a hard time casting.
It was more of just the foreign rod with the wind and the casting.
Yep.
And yeah, just we're out on this lake. I don't even see structure.
There's no mountains anywhere.
There's no mountains. I've lost all sense of direction. I haven't gone to a Maverick. I'm like, is this even an adventure? But like Spencer is saying, the more we progress through this trip, it really does come down to put a fly in front of a fish and make it look real.
And that's real. And it's going to change. You might use a sink tip. You might use a long leader. You might use a giant fly. But at the end of the day, it will surprise you when you go do things other than what you normally fish for, how much of it carries over. I think the only thing I would say that probably doesn't translate over would be like salmon fishing, anything you're doing two-handed spay casting for, because that's just completely different.
Yeah.
Even then, it's still streamer fishing.
Still put your flies in front of fish and make them look real. It's just a different mechanism to do that.
Exactly. Those are my big takeaways, man. Did you have any more that we didn't get to? Anything else in the story? Our flight home was fine, thankfully. Thank goodness. We got home and everything was great.
I think a big takeaway for me was, and I talked about this, just have an open mind.
Yeah.
And now I'm pretty stoked about chasing different species. Oh, I've always been a trout guy, right? I've done a little bit of bone fishing, but this has opened my eyes a little bit to how much fun fly fishing for other species can be.
And I got bit by the bass bug pretty bad because I got home and
he's trying to steal my title.
I immediately started looking for places around me that had bass in them. And I found a stocking report for this little pond out in the middle of the desert that's got largemouth in it and bluegill. So I thought, I'm going to go give that a look-see. So I go out there on a Sunday. It was the Sunday after we got back. Caught one decent largemouth, like 11, 12 inches long. Still, more than I caught on the lake in Florida. And then I missed another one. And then I went back Tuesday with my buddy.
All of a sudden I get this picture on my phone.
And Alex gets this picture of, what was it?
It was freaking massive bass.
This giant, like
huge,
5-pound largemouth.
Huge.
That smacked a clouser minnow.
The gut on it is bulging. It looks like it has a tumor.
Yeah,
because it's just so fat.
Well, dude, when I got my fly out of its mouth, I could see the tail of another fish sticking out of its stomach.
No way.
Yeah, it was happy. It was fat and happy, man. So that's why I think I might be able to claim the Bassmaster title too, because I caught a 5-pounder, and that 5 pound of bass is more than yours.
I don't know. So leave a comment in a YouTube comment. Can he steal the title, or was it a different challenge? Like, I don't know, man.
I mean, we never said that it was done.
I guess we didn't specify that it was one day.
No, we didn't.
Maybe I think we said today.
We probably did.
Yeah.
We probably did.
So, I mean,
but it was,
I think you're just getting practice for next year.
It was satisfying to go home and then to try everything I learned in Florida and have it work on a random bass pond in Wyoming.
Yeah.
So that was great too, to just reinforce, everything we learned. And all I was doing, floating line, 7-foot leader, clouser minnow, nothing complicated. I was fishing the reeds and the structure in that little bass pond. Everything that we learned in Florida, I was like, oh, look, there's some, there weren't any lily pads, but there's some cattails. There's a drop off. There's a stick. I found some sunken trees, and that's where I caught the big ones, was around that stick.
And I love what Max said when you sent him the picture of that big bass. You're like, I went all the way to Florida to catch a bass like this, and I couldn't even catch one.
Yep.
What did Max say?
Said, no, you went all the way to Florida to learn how to catch a bass like that.
Boom, drop the mic. Yeah. I thought that was so good.
It was awesome. So props to Max, because he taught me how to do it.
Max,
fantastic.
Max was awesome. He was a great friend to have out there with us. Good teacher. His boat was sick. We might have to get one. We'll see. Yeah,
we're definitely, there's no might about it. We're definitely getting one. All right. Well, we'll see who wins the Bassmaster title.
2027. I think 2026 is already locked up.
It might be, but we're definitely doing another one next year. But that wraps up the story for us and the main part of the show today. If you guys enjoyed that, you want to hear more long form stories like that, where we try and dive into the day and take you on the trip with us as much as we can. Definitely let us know. Leave us a comment if you like that. But now it's time to move on to the Q&A portion of this week's episode, because every week at Untangled, we answer questions from you guys. But when Alex is with me doing the show, we always pull the questions from our school group. And our school group is just a free online group we run where you can join up. You get to connect with almost 6,000 other anglers all across the world, share pictures, share stories, get advice, learn about fly tying.
We have a fly tying night every month that we do. We have a deep dive, which is like a live stream that we do where we go specifically really deep, hence the name deep dive, on one topic.
And you get to hang out with me and Alex. The lives are a big part of it. It's a live event, basically a live podcast you get to come to twice a month. It's all free. And you also get first dibs when we drop new products, when flies get back in stock. Everybody who's in the school group gets first dibs on those if you want those. Yeah,
we just dropped something really cool
in the school group
yesterday. Yeah. So
be some fun times.
It's pretty good place to be.
It is. So there's a link to join school. If you're not in there already, there's a link down in the show notes for it, or there will be a link here on the screen as well, a little QR code you can grab. But our first question that we grabbed from school, we just put a post in there asking for questions. And first one we want to answer is from our good buddy, Kevin Knack.
Yeah, if you join school, he's one of the homies.
Yes, he is. You want to read it?
Sure. I've got a sink tip line to target bass because I was getting FOMO from your guys' bass pictures. What are some strategies to target bass on the fly that differ from conventional gear? I've done a lot of bass fishing drop shots, top water, you name it, but on the fly, I'm new and looking for some pointers. I'm also going to be using the fly flinger to target them.
Boom. I think we honestly covered a lot of that, right?
Yeah, hopefully this show has been helpful.
Yeah, it really is. Fish it the same way that you would with conventional gear. You're just using a fly rod to accomplish that job, because that's what we were doing with Max. He'd fished the Bass Lake with conventional gear the day before. We went back, fished the same stuff as close to we could get with the lures, just with flies instead. Same structure, same retrieval speed, same everything, we just did it on flies instead. Yeah. Now, with that kind of wind and depth, conventional gear probably would have been a lot more effective, but it worked really well for me going home to the little bass pond. So, yeah, hopefully that.
Yeah, if you're pretty familiar with streamer fishing,
yep,
it's streamer fishing for a different type of fish.
Yep.
That's really what it is.
And doing it on a lake and really paying attention to structure and depth and behavior.
All right. The next question comes from Andrew. He says, any tips on casting streamers with sink tip lines?
Another one that we really did cover here as well. And I love that these questions came in. I didn't tell anybody the topic of this podcast, so these questions were really great. I thought we were able to answer them quite a bit. But the big thing with casting sinking tip line is sink tip lines are going to weigh more. Even if it's rated for a 5-weight line, the way the weight is distributed through that is just different than a lot of your other lines.
It's literally heavier. It's more dense, right?
So you have to slow your cast down and open the cast up. What I mean by that is, if you look at a video of someone casting a dry fly, those loops are really narrow and tight because that dry fly is just zipping. Okay. There's almost no weight to it. So it's just that nice narrow loop cutting through the air. But when you open that loop up, okay, you slow things down. That allows everything to load and unload from the rod, because you've got so much more weight and so much more mass that's moving. It takes a little bit of time. It does not happen as quickly as that little dry fly does. It does not happen as effortlessly as that little dry fly does. The weight of your fly line leader and dry fly does not load your rod anywhere near the same way that a sink tip, a long leader, and a big bass bug will do. Okay, there's so much more weight that creates energy that your rod has to load and unload during the cast. You have to slow it down. So slow it down, watch for the cast to straighten out, move your rod forward. That's the best advice I can give you on it. And the other bit of advice too is don't false cast with it. Don't false cast. That really tripped Alex up a couple of times on that trip, where he was false casting way too much.
And when I've been trying to learn how to streamer fish
in general, yeah.
Ryan, who was on the podcast I think it was
a little bit ago.
Yeah, a little bit ago. We fish with him quite often. And the first time I was streamer, he's really good at streamer fishing. He chewed me out a couple times because I was false casting too much.
But it's what you've always done.
It's pretty standard, right?
The big thing I like to remember, I had a really accomplished angler I know. He's owned fly shops. He's been in the industry for a long time. One of the first bits of advice he ever gave me was the best anglers can pick up and put their flies down where they want them in 3 casts or less. And that applies especially to sink tips, streamers. You just want to pick it up, do one good double haul, shoot the line out there and lay it down. Because the longer that line spends in the air, A, it's harder to cast. B, way easier to tangle that stuff because there's so much more weight flying around in the air.
You could smack yourself with the streamer and it does not feel good. I'm pretty sure I still have a bruise on my arm from when the streamer smacked me in the arm.
Dude, I cracked myself in the back of the head with a triple dungeon once. Ugh. Sounded like a 22 got shot off in the boat. Scared the crap out of me. And then I felt the pain on the back of my head. So, but yeah, hopefully that helps you, Andrew. Thanks. Right. Keith has our next question. He says, runoff is starting early in Southwest Colorado. Doubt it will be very big or last very long based on our lack of snow. Any advice on fishing higher, dirty water?
So the first thing, we got to find where the fish are. Usually they're on the softer edges when the water is higher and dirtier. So just fish. And honestly, anywhere you can find slower moving water, that's probably where the fish are hanging out.
The caveat to that is if it's in like flood stage, like it's chocolate milk, it's more dirt than water, they're going to be down on the bottom usually because that's where the slowest stuff will be. If we're talking it's high and off color a little bit from runoff, then what Alex said is 100% true. But if there's trees or branches in the river too, it's too much to fish at that point.
Yeah, it's not even worth it.
No. At that point, you just say, all right, Mother Nature, I'll be back in a couple of weeks. But if it's high, off color, faster than you're used to, 100%, they're going to be in that slow stuff on the edges. They'll be down deep too. So if you can get down deep, it can be effective. But those softer edges, any bit of calm water you can find, they'll be stacked in that stuff.
It's also easier to fish. Trying to get your flies down to the bottom when it's cooking like that, it can really hard.
Yes.
So just... if we're talking percentages, like I want to actually catch fish today, fish the softer edges. And then as far as fly choice goes, you're looking for things that are going to stand out in the murkier water. So bright colored flies like a San Juan worm, a scud muffin, what else? Egg bomber, blowtorch, just something that has like neon, bright colors.
Not the
Duracell.
Yes, thank you.
Duracell. Yeah,
I can never, purple. For the life of me. Like, I know what flies we sell at VFC. I never remember the friggin' Duracell, man. I'm always like, what was this again? It just doesn't stick in my head for some reason.
And then another option is maybe you don't have something that's really bright in color, is just a dark, big silhouette in the water. So you're thinking like woolly buggers, rubber legs, just something that's going to stand out. Yeah, 20 inch or stone. And so if you fish the softer water with those flies, you're probably going to get the job done.
Yeah, you'll be in good shape. Awesome. Good question. Thank you, man. Aaron has our next one. He says, when fishing cripples, do you add floating to the first half of the fly, the whole fly, or not at all? Well, Aaron, it depends. My favorite answer to give. No, it really kind of does depend. I generally will put floating on my cripple to start because when they are eating cripples, the crippled ones are more on the surface than the emerger. The cripples, they died. They're sitting on there. They're sitting lower in the water for sure, but they're still on the water's surface. So I will put floating on them, but I'm not as picky about it floating high as I am my duns. So I'll let them go. I'll let them sink in, half inch or so below the surface. But I just put it all over it. If I'm putting floating on my fly, I'm just going to put it all over the fly because that's what I'm trying to do with it. And
I think it also depends if you're fishing a single or double dry fly rig, right? Yes. If you're fishing a single dry fly rig, this is the only fly, you're probably going to want to put floating on it because that's like you're looking at that cripple on the water surface.
Yeah, how else are you going to see it?
Yeah, if you're using a double dry fly, let's say the cripple's that second fly, you can let it sink. Maybe it's like an inch or two under the water surface. And then your bigger first fly will be almost your indicator when a fish hits your cripple.
Exactly. Awesome. Thanks for the question, Aaron. Appreciate it, man.
All right. The next one is from Kenji. How do flow rates and water temp affect fish and their feeding habits? I hear all the time about fishermen making decisions to go based out on flow rate and temperature.
Well, you have to know how to decipher a CFS chart. And then you also need to know how to convert Fahrenheit to trout temperature. It's this really low, like we don't talk about it a lot. It's this completely different temperature scale.
Yeah, I think this was in my chemistry 501 class.
Yeah. Just big. You got to have a big brain to really throw this, to really pull this off. So if you're not that intelligent, I wouldn't try it. No, we're kidding around, obviously. So flow rates and water temps. The big thing, we get this question a lot about, well, what does CFS mean? What do flow rates mean? All it tells you is cubic feet per second. That's how much water is moving down the river. That's what CFS means. So that's really it. There's no like, oh, I'm only going to go when it's 100 CFS, because it's all relative to the creek or the river itself. When I was on the Niagara River a couple of years ago, I think it was flowing at like 100,000 CFS. I can't remember if that was it, but it was enormous because our favorite river to fish, I love it when it's at 2,000 CFS.
And then another river that we love to fish here in Utah, it's great when it's at like 50 CFS, 40 CFS.
Because it's all relative to the size of the creek. Yeah. Okay. So flows, it's great if you can't go out to the river and check and see what the flows are. The flow charts will tell you, okay, it's right at 30 CFS and the average is 30 CFS. So the more you get out there and you see, oh, it was easy to fish at this flow, then you start to lock that information in, and then you can kind of build like, oh, it's really good when it's at this level. And when it's at this level, I can actually wait up here and go to this part.
There's actually one where we know that if it's at 40, it's too high, but if it's at 37, it's great.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's literally that's 3 CFS makes a difference. So that's all flow rates mean. So it's just going out based on whether the water's too high or too low.
And if it's a newer river, you're not super familiar with it, just go back like 365 days
on the
and
chart.
You'll see on the chart, like on the graph, you'll see it's pretty constant. Then you'll see runoff. It'll be a big spike. And then you'll see it in the fall, like where it gets down to the lowest point. And you can gauge if it's worth going or not, just based off of that.
So it'll tell you like, oh, if you see it's normally at 30 and the river's at 70 today, that tells you, oh, there's probably a rainstorm or something. Probably not worth going out there at that point with that giant
probably
jump in
worth
flows.
Going back to Keith's question about how to fish higher rivers.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. And then temperature. So trout fishing, our personal cutoff, water temp gets above 68, we stop. Trout are very sensitive to temperatures because the warmer the water gets, the lower the amount of dissolved oxygen is in the water. So they'll literally suffocate when the water gets too warm. And it's very tough for them to recover after a fight. Their mortality increases exponentially after you catch and release them in warmer water. If you want to go out and it's 72 and you're going to catch your limit for dinner that night, tip of the cap to you, have fun and enjoy yourself. Nothing wrong with that at all. But for catch and release anglers who don't plan on killing their catch that night, our personal cutoff 68. The science backs it up. This is not science. This is actual like peer reviewed. Like we're not just, oh, this is what you should do. This is actual science. There's been a lot of studies on this done by a lot of conservation groups who know what they're doing. There's some people who will fish up to 70 degrees for trout. It's kind of personal preference because that 68 to 70 degree range is where that is the cliff where the survival rate for fish really drops off.
Yeah.
So personally for us, we like to err on the side of caution.
Yeah. If we see 65, 66, 67, we'll usually stop.
Yeah.
But that's the upper range of the water temps, right?
Yes.
And if you get down to the low end, which is 33, 30s, the fish actually slow down there as well. So there's this range, there's a Goldilocks zone
from like
where
40-ish to 60-ish.
Yeah.
Give or take a little bit.
And
on either
if you're
end.
at like 54, 53, 52, that's when fish are just really active. And you'll also see that the bugs are more active at those water temperatures. And so if you get this perfect storm of peak bug activity and peak fish activity, you're in for a good day.
You will be. So the only way to really know the water temp ahead of time, there's no data on that. So you just have to go to the river and check. But usually you get into July and August, that's when you need to start checking water temps out west anyways. I'm not sure what that's like out east. I haven't fished enough of those spring creeks to know.
Yeah, I carry a little thermometer on my pack. So I'll just stick it in the water. And it's also nice to just know, hey, today the fishing was really good. Let's see what the water temp was. Or, hey, the fishing is really slow today. Let's see what the water temp was. It's just nice to have another data point.
Exactly. Awesome. Thanks, Kenji.
All right. Next one comes from Buddy. Thanks for the opportunity to ask a question and have it answered on the podcast. Since watching your video on how to match the hatch, I've used the method with great success. I want to go one layer deeper. I understand the match the hatch process, using size, shape, and color as the 3 primary criteria in the order of importance. But once you've done your best to match all 3, you know fish are present, yet they're still refusing your fly. What's the right next step? Should you adjust size first or try changing shape or color? If the size is the answer, is it better to go up or down? Love the podcast and looking forward to understanding more about matching the hatch. Tight lines. That is a great question, buddy.
This is a great question. Really depends on who you ask. Because Ryan Kelly, when he was on, was that episode?
172.
172. Thank you. Episode 172. So 2 months ago. Holy crap. Because this is 180.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Time flies when you're having fun.
So when he was on that show, Ryan says that shape matters more than size.
Yes, he did.
On the Green River for him, in his fishing, he says that shape matters more than size. I'm not going to argue with him on that on the green. However, I think the green is a special little beast. I would still say that size is the most important.
I would as well.
Because unless you're on a fishery where the fish really are keyed in on mayflies and that's all they want that day, yes, shape probably would matter more in that case than size. But I think size still matters the most because that is by far and away when I change the size of my flies, not the pattern, just the size, that's when I seem to really start catching fish when I wasn't catching them beforehand, especially with dry flies.
I think we've been very positively reinforced to say that size matters because so many times we've fished a parachute Adams, say we have a 14 on, we'll go down to a 16 or an 18, and the fish we were casting to will eat first cast.
Yes. So as far as what should you adjust first when you're running in a situation, if you've matched the hatch, you've done your best, they're still not eating, I don't mess with my fly first. First thing, I always assume it's a me problem. I always assume that I screwed up. So I assume that my presentation's not good enough, my drift isn't good enough, maybe my cast landed too close to the fish and it spooked it a little bit. I assume it's something I did wrong. So I will first try to make sure the presentation is as perfect as I can get it. That might mean adding some extra leader. It might mean sizing down my tippet. That might mean changing where I'm at in the river so that I can get my fly to land and not have any drag. That might mean, lengthening the leader. I mentioned that, but lengthening it so my fly line lands further away from the fish and potentially doesn't spook it. Because sometimes fly line landing on the water can be enough to spook the fish if it lands too close to them, or even if it lands right on top of them, that will definitely put them off. So that is what I do first. I always assume it's a me problem.
And then we'll go size.
Yep.
So if you've done everything in your power to improve your presentation, that's when you'll size down the fly most of the time. The only time we'll go up in size is when there's a crazy blanket hatch going on where there's just hundreds and hundreds of bugs on the water and you need something that's going to stand out against all those other bugs.
You need the fish to be able to actually see your fly.
Yeah.
For crying
so
out loud.
if you see a ton of blue winged olives on the water and they all look like size 16, 18s, might be worth throwing out a 14 or a 12 just so that the fish see that and go, ooh.
Yep, exactly. And then you could change color too. You want at that point. If the fish are being that picky, it really might come down to color. So that's a good last resort, I think. But that's our process. That's how we do it. So really good question, buddy, though. Thank you.
All right. Next one comes from Josh. I have read that fish can see the blue light spectrum. Does this affect what they eat as much? When you shine a black light on some flies, they light up, others not so much. Personally, I find those that light up do better. Is this because I'm more confident with those flies, or is there something to this?
Josh, it's a really interesting question. Fish definitely see color and perceive it a little bit differently than we do. I read up on how trout see and how they perceive color a lot. I forgot to brush up on that this morning before we did the show, so I can't remember exactly like the light spectrum that they actually see. But that doesn't really matter as much because the key to remember with what they see is color is less important to them. That they don't see color as much as they see contrast, and that's what they really see. So contrasting colors tend to work really well on flies. And you talk about, you've got some flies that shine with the UV light on them. The dubbing lights up. It's made to react to the UV light. Yeah, it's made to have more contrast in the water, 100%. That's why those flies light up. And the fact that you feel like you do better with those, I have a really, really hard time thinking that UV dubbing makes a difference over natural dubbing. Because how long have we had UV dubbing versus how long have we had natural dubbing? And how many fish were caught on flies tied with natural dubbing, Alex?
Many.
A few. A fair bit, I think would be safe to say. Whereas, yeah, I'm sure the UV dubbing helps, but I have a hard time saying like, oh, this is the magic sauce that makes a huge difference. So I would come down to saying, yeah, there's probably something to the confidence part of it. You feel like the fly is better, so you fish it better. And that's definitely not, like that's definitely a thing. That definitely happens.
I completely disagree with that.
Really? You don't think you fish different flies better because you're confident in them?
No, because confidence comes from an event happening, not just me being like, oh, I feel confident, so the fish are going to jump in the net.
Really?
Yeah, I totally disagree with that.
See, I feel like I do fish some flies better because, like,
what do you mean by fishing it better? I guess maybe
like,
that's where I'm a little confused.
So when I've got a fly on that I believe in, I feel like
you're not as jittery.
Not even that I'm not as jittery, but I feel like I just fish it better. I'm more
like, so what does that mean? I'm more accurate with your casts. You don't false cast as much. That's where I'm getting confused. It's like, what is confidence?
I pay attention to the details of the drift a lot better. I think would be because I'm like, oh, this fly is going to work.
Just so because of the fly?
I have seen it. I'll be completely honest.
Interesting.
I think it's been this unconscious thing where, like,
well, wouldn't it be conscious at this point because you're thinking?
Well, I am now, but I think back to last year. We're on that Grizzly Bear River.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, let the record show it is the Grizzly Bear River.
If I called it the Black Bear River,
Black Bear River.
If I called it the Black Bear River, I would have to specify which river. Okay. If I call it the Grizzly Bear River, you know exactly which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, because we saw a grizzly bear.
No, we saw a bear of undetermined species is what we saw. And we were running low on Pat's rubber legs, and I tied up those giant Frenchies, and I just didn't like how they looked, and I was like, eh. And so when I was throwing them out there, I just found myself kind of hesitant with everything because I was like, I don't really like that. And then once I threw the 20-incher stone on instead, I liked how it looked better. It was like this mental shift of I felt more confident with it. And so it just, like, how I approached the holes changed based on that.
That's so fascinating.
And someone brought up this idea of, do you fish flies better because you believe in them? And that was the first thing that came to mind. I didn't realize it at the time, but when someone brought that up to me, that's when it stuck out.
Okay.
So I do think there is something to it, unless you're not immortal like Alex, because apparently, it's everything's clinical with you. It's just, this is how it is. So
I also am like the UV blue light stuff.
It's a classic example of kind of overthinking, right?
It has never crossed my mind when I'm opening my fly box.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this one has way more UV capabilities. So I think the fish are going to eat it. It's like The reason a fish refuses my fly is usually because I land my fly line on the fish. It's not because the fish looked up and went, "Is that UV dubbing?"
Is that new hairline dubbing?
Yeah, it's like
that I heard about from Bob the other day.
It's just the way I fish, the way I like to choose flies. That's too much for me.
Yeah,
I can't do that.
Oh, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
So, well, that wraps up the Q&A portion of the show. And just like every week, we're going to end with Alex's favorite segment.
The favorite part of the show.
The live real life moment.
So I got to tell you something. And this is live. Spencer doesn't know about this.
Okay, what do we got?
So we're actually moving spaces here in the next month or so.
Getting a new warehouse and studio.
Yeah, should be pretty cool. But we're going to have one specifically for the podcast and YouTube videos, like a little media studio. So that should be really fun. But I want the first thing when you walk in, I want on the wall a big live real life.
Yeah.
And I want to print out all of our live real life moments and put them on the wall around the live real life. So like right when you walk in, it's like, boom, live real life.
This is what we're doing it for.
Yeah. So
because that'd be awesome.
It'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Just like every day we walk in and that's the first thing we see.
Because that's the reason VFC exists, is to help y'all live real life. We want you to get out there and enjoy yourselves and have a great time on the water. And that's why we're here. And that's why we end every show with a live real life moment. We want to share the wins y'all are having. And this week's live real life moment is from Josh, who wrote in and said, "My favorite type of fishing is small tributaries chasing wild brookies. The picture I included is one of my favorite honey holes. It takes significant effort to get to, and I have never even seen a footprint of another angler there.
Sounds like my kind of river.
In the middle of the summer, it is cold, and the brookies head up this type of stream and find cold, clear pools. Sometimes you can see them jumping up the Cascades to the next pool. I fish these spots with an 8-foot 4-weight, usually small flies, and 5X or 6X tippet. When I first got into fly fishing about 4 years ago, this is the only style that I did. I loved catching 6 to 9 inch wild fish. This particular stream is a trib of a larger river that is stocked, and this pool is about 2 miles up. One day, I was happily catching wild brookies. I probably got 10 of them in 2 hours. I cast in after releasing one I caught on a dry dropper setup. All of a sudden, there was a swirl. My fly went down. I set, and my rod bent over like I had never experienced before. A 16-inch stocked brookie had made its way up the stream to that pool and absolutely surprised me with its power and fight. I got in and took a picture and let it go to do its thing. I have never caught a fish like that in this spot again and still go there regularly to chase brookies. But the story of the huge brookie coming out of nowhere was amazing and is a story that I love to retell. Definitely one of the most fun trout I've ever got to the net. I guess the point of this is that when I'm fly fishing, there are so many amazing experiences that always surprise me and make me love the sport more and more. Absolutely love your show and the school community. Thanks for what you two do. Diet Pepsi is a joke and is only drunk by people who follow the stocking trucks around. Diet Coke all the way." Yeah, you're daggum right, Josh. I freaking love it, man. Thank you. Some Diet Coke love on the... It's been too long since we've had some good Diet Coke love on the pod. I love it.
That's so funny.
It's a great story, man.
That's a big brookie, 16 inches.
Yeah, those surprisingly big fish in random spots where you don't expect them are always great. You never forget them.
Great memories.
So, well, thanks, Josh, and thank you to everybody who has been with us, watch, listen to the show every week. It means more to us than you can understand. And if you want to help us out even more, make sure you tell everybody you know about VSC. Tell them about Untangled. We want to get as many folks living real life as possible, and this is the best way to help them do that. And yeah, with that, folks, just make sure you rate and subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it. Until next week, get out on the water, enjoy yourselves, and live real life.